Stand up, pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Victoria, roll call.
Hold on, is the camera already on? Yes? Okay. Robert Santos? Hector Cortez is present online. Mr. Carlos Gordillo is absent. Mr. David Cash Vasquez?
Present.
Mr. Zeke Rodriguez?
Here.
Mr. Joshua Soto?
Here.
Mr. J.E. Gonzalez?
Here.
And Ms. Selena Villarreal?
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right. We have the minutes in our hands. Everybody want to review them or any comments on that?
Motion to approve.
Cash
Second.
motion. Second, Dawson. All in favor? Any opposition?
Who made the motion?
Cash. Joshua, second. Okay, all in favor, anybody opposed? Motion passes. All right, citizen comments, are there any citizen comments?
No.
Okay, moving right along. Staff reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to move up the noise program presentation, since I have our consultants there. They're gonna share a presentation for you all to see. And I know Mr. Dave Fool is there, and he's very expensive, and he charges by the minute, so we'll get him offline already. And John Arian, so I will just go to them, move to the presentation on Laredo International Airport's revised noise compatibility program, NCP. So we'll start off with the presentation. You ready? Okay.
John and Dave?
All yours.
There's.
Dave, would you like me to share that from my end? I'm not hearing your audio again.
Dave, we can't hear you.
You're on mute.
I think it's on. I can't hear you.
Yeah, you're still on mute.
Dave, on the email, there is a call-in number if it's not working, and you can still share your screen.
Victoria, while you figures that out, are you seeing the presentation?
Yes, I can see it. I'm just gonna make it bigger over here on our end, so they can see. There you go.
That should help.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
There we go. All right. So I am just going to talk about the Public 50 study, and specifically the noise compatibility program. But to do that, I want to give you a little bit of a background on how we got to where we are right now. And so the presentation will walk us through that. And at the end of the presentation, we'll go through the actual noise compatibility program. I will start calling that the NCP, so I don't have to keep saying those words every time. So next slide, John. So it is part of the Part 150 process, and this slide gives you the progress to date. We've had several public meetings and a public workshop. What's important here is the FAA has accepted the noise exposure maps, which are the NEMs. That was done back in August of 2022. And the FAA, then we prepared the noise compatibility program, the NCP, and our public workshop on that. And FAA then gave the record of approval on the NCP back in July of 2025. So the next steps here in the process is for the city council to adopt the updated NCP measures and for the city to actually implement those updated NCP measures. So that's where we've had a long journey on this. It's been several years to get to this point. It's important to know that we've gone through all the steps and the steps that are required as part of the Department 50 process. All right, next slide. So as part of this presentation overview, I'll talk about the Department 50 process, the noise exposure maps, the NCP, what the FAA did approve. What's important is that on the NCP, what we sent to the FAA, they, for each measure, they determine whether they approve it or disapprove it. So they kind of have line item veto on every measure that we put in the NCP. So that is why we talk about the FAA approved measures. And then we'll talk a little bit about the overview of the changes between the previous NCP and the one that the FAA has approved. Next slide. So for Part 150 study, this is, the Part 150 is a voluntary program that the airport can undertake to address land and noise and land use compatibility concerns. You can see the various steps associated with the Part 150 study. Know that the Part 150 is just basically, it's Part 150 of the Aviation Safety and Noise Abatement Act of 1979. So it's been around a long time. It's very prescriptive. The FAA says exactly what we can and cannot do as part of the Part 150. But what's important is once you go through that process and you get measures that are approved by the FAA, the implementation of those measures do become eligible for federal funding. So in order to get federal funding, you have to go through the Part 150 process to do that. Next slide. It's also important to know what a Part 150 study is not. It's not a master plan, it's not an environmental review study, it's not safety study, it's not an opportunity to close the airport or to explore non-airport options. It's important we tell the public that, because so often the public thinks that it's open to anything, and that's not true. It really is about existing aircraft noise and future aircraft noise and land use compatibility around the airport. Next slide. So roles and responsibilities. There are a variety of different folks, different entities that are involved in the process. I'll go to the upper right corner, the airport sponsor, the airport itself. They have a lot of responsibilities with assisting with implementation of recommendations that are chosen to be adopted. The FAA is the entity that gives the approval for that, but also air traffic control. It's really important as part of the process because they deal with the movement of aircraft. City of Laredo, again, another important entity because that entity does provide for land use jurisdiction, planning, zoning, and other regulations. And then finally, residents, folks that live around the airport. We, as I showed you earlier, we had public meetings with those folks to talk about their noise concerns and understand what their concerns were and to help them understand what could be possible as part of this process. Next slide. So this is a really busy slide, but it just talks about, it just shows the whole Part 150 study overview, all the different steps we go through. If you look in the middle there, that's the submittal of the NEM to the FAA, which the FAA did approve, and they did that in August of 2022. And then the second half, the right side of it, is really getting to the NCP and the FAA's record of approval of the NCP, which occurred back in July of 2025. So we went through all those steps, but the bottom line is the NCP itself, which we'll get to in just a moment. Next slide. So I want to show and just remind people of what the noise exposure maps look like for the airport. It's important to understand that. So we have our airport vicinity map, and what's really important here is the boundaries of the airport. Does noise go off the airport? That's always our first concern. So we always do this airport vicinity map to kind of level set us as to what environment we're working in. Next slide. These show the existing contours from 2019, and those contours are in black outline. The largest one is the 65, and the 65 is really important because that is the FAA's significance threshold. 65 decibels on a day-night noise level, and that's really helps us determine what land uses could be potentially non-compatible with aircraft noise. The next slide, John, will show 2026, which are considered the future conditions. And again, those are the contours. The largest contour is the 65. And if you compare the two, you probably think, hey, did anything really happen? Well, that's why we prepared the next slide, which actually shows where things did change. And you can see it mostly changed there to the north. The kind of light purple shading shows the difference between the two contours between 2019 and 2026. And our next slides will really hone in on that. So here in the south, you can see there's a very, very slight increase in the contours there at the far southern end of the contours, just really off of just north of Clark Avenue. And then we're going to show you also the north, which is a little easier to see, and that'll be the next slide. And you can see that the contours do get a little bit bigger there to the north, and you can actually see it much better there to the north as well. Okay, so that's what we are dealing with respect to the FAA approving these contours to then allow us to go in and prepare the NCP itself. I'm sorry. This was the approved noise exposure map for 2019, and what's important here is we take the contours and we put them on a map that shows all the various land uses within those contours. So we did that for 2019 and for 2026. And you can see the predominant land uses to the south of the airport is residential, and so residential uses within the 65 are considered non-compatible land uses for aircraft noise purposes. So that's really where our focus is trying to figure out, hey, what can be done, what mitigation measures can be applied for those areas that are considered non-compatible land uses within the 65. Next slide. So one of the things we did was we did change the proposed program boundaries. The dashed line shows the previous boundary that was done in 2014 in terms of areas that were eligible for mitigation. And our proposed boundary, you can see we kind of squared it off there at the bottom. And that's really shown by the yellow line, that area, kind of a rectangular area there, which then incorporated a portion of the 65. One of the things we like to do is to kind of round out a neighborhood so that somebody on one side of the street would be eligible and somebody on the other side is not eligible. We try to do it by neighborhood. And so the FAA allowed us to do that, to increase the boundary area to incorporate some additional areas. And the other thing really important on this map is properties that had not been previously mitigated are shown there in kind of the yellowish green area color. So that kind of gives you an idea for areas that would still be eligible for potential mitigation measures. Next slide is showing the proposed boundaries there as well on the south. And you can see that in the red. This is just focused on the new boundary that the FAA did approve. So that's really important for us. Next slide. So let's get into the noise compatibility program. We know that we do have land uses that are considered non-compatible. So what do we have to do? Well, Part 150 studies requires us to look at each one of these measures as part of it. And we have to look at it from the standpoint of making sure that this can be implemented, that it's not unjustly discriminatory, it doesn't reduce the safety of aircraft operations, and that it meets both the City of Laredo's needs as well as the national airspace needs within the National Air Transportation System. And we also have to make sure that every measure can be implemented within the powers and duties of the FAA. So that's really important. One of the things that really what this translates to is that we can't take noise from one community to another and say that we've mitigated something. So we can't transfer noise from one community to another. So that's really important when we're devising what these mitigation measures can do. Next slide. So the FAA requires us to study the following strategies. And these are listed here. I think there's 7 of them total. The first one is to, hey, should we acquire land so that we can then dictate what land uses are on that land to make sure that they're compatible with airport operations. The second one is to look at the potential for constructing barriers or acoustical shielding, and that would include soundproofing of buildings, any buildings that would be considered non-compatible land uses. We also look at the implementation of a preferential runway system at the airport. Is there a way to operate the airport that would reduce noise in these non-compatible areas? The fourth one is to use flight procedures, and can we change flight tracks in the area to reduce noise? Is there any way that we could change those flight tracks so that aircraft go over non-populated areas, go over areas that are considered compatible land uses? I move to the next slide. So then we also have the implementation of any restriction on the use of the airport by any type of aircraft. And then we've listed out all the various restrictions that can occur here. I will say that strategy number 5 was really important as part of Part 150 prior to 1990. In 1990, they passed a new law that said, hey, you really can't do these restrictions. Even though we're required to look at them, doing these restrictions would require a separate Part 161 study that is really difficult to do and costs a lot of money, and there's been no airport in America that's been able to actually implement a Part 161 study. So, when we look at this 5th one here, yes, we're required to look at it, but implementing it is next to impossible. All right, let me move on then to the approved mitigation measures from the FAA. So we're going to go through and talk about each one of these. The first, and we devised them in different ways, but the first set here are the land use mitigation measures. The first measure is to modify and expand overlay zones associated with the airport. You have an existing ordinance that you adopted way back in 1994, but where this recommendation is to extend the subdistrict C that's part of that ordinance an additional 1/2 mile beyond the 65 DNL noise exposure area. So the contours that I showed you previously, this would go 1/2 mile beyond those contours as part of the adoption of modifying that ordinance. The second one is measure 2, enforcing the building codes, and that's really to maintain implementation of that ordinance that you also adopted back in 1994 with respect to various building codes within the land development code for the city of Laredo. Measure 3 is to maintain the sound insulation and eligibility program that you've been implementing, and because we have some additional properties that now are eligible, we can continue the implementation of that sound insulation program. And then number 4 was to modify the mitigation program area. I showed you that change on the south side of the airport to expand the area that is eligible for inclusion in the mitigation. That's what this Measure 4 is all about. So that would allow us to offer sound insulation to those non-compatible land uses within that additional area. All right, moving on to the administrative measures, there are 4 of those as well. The first one is the noise management process. The city of Laredo has a process where you log the noise complaints, and you have developed the noise property management system, and we think it's necessary also to update the noise land use inventory reuse plan that you have. That would be a continuation of that process. Measure number 2 is new for you, and that is to purchase and install an aircraft operations and flight tracking system. That would be a system that would be housed there at the airport and would be available for the public to actually see aircraft operations and track flights associated with them. It's a good way of providing public with the information with respect to aircraft operations at the airport, and for them to say, hey, you know what, I was disturbed by this particular flight. They'd be able to figure out which flight that was, and that will help them in terms of understanding which aircraft are potentially causing the most annoyance for people. Measure 3 is to update noise exposure maps. Part 150 really says, hey, you really need to do this every 5 years to update your noise exposure maps. So that's a measure that the FAA always likes to see as part of the NCP, and so we've included that here. And then measure number 4 is, hey, if we need to update the NCP, the program itself, we should also do that. But only do that if there are changes with respect to aircraft operations and with respect to the 65 contour. That's when we really would take a look at it. So you can always update your noise exposure maps and not need to update your NCP, but we've included it in here to say that we would update that when it's needed, and it really is if it's needed as well. Next slide. So the changes between 2014 NCP and this NCP itself, let me just go over those. Really 2 of them. The 2025 NCP will not continue the fee simple property acquisition as a land use measure that was included in the previous NCP. If you remember, I said, hey, we had to look at acquisition of property as a requirement. We did look at it and decided that that was not something that we needed to continue to do as part of this NCP. And then the other thing is that this NCP does expand that ordinance that was adopted in 1994 with respect to Subdistrict C that I talked about, and we just explained where that buffer zone goes. And I believe our next slide has a map of that. Yeah, there it is, the half-mile buffer zone beyond the 65. So you can see the contour there, the 65 contour, and then the half-mile buffer zone beyond that contour, both to the north, which is on the left side of the slide here, and the south, which is on the right side of the slide. Next slide. So again, I just kind of want to highlight what needs to happen next is for the City Council to adopt these NCP measures, and then for the implementation of those measures to actually occur. And I think that was my last slide. Yes, it was my last slide. So I guess I'll stop there and see if anybody has any questions or any discussion on what I've presented.
Can you go back to the southern part of the map?
The close-up of the contours to the south?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, John, can you get back there?
You said that extends all the way out to Clark Boulevard?
Not quite to Clark. I believe there's a street, it's called O'Keefe. It extends, and our boundary then extends down to, actually go back, John, to the boundary, because I think that's what's really important here. The close-up of the boundary, yeah, there we go. So, there you go. So you can see the contour there, and what we did was it goes all the way down to O'Keefe, which is just 1 block north of Clark Boulevard. We tried to get it all the way down to Clark, but the FAA said no. They were not biting on that one. So I'm sorry, it's O'Kane Street, not O'Keefe, I'm sorry. So we did put it there on O'Keefe.
So, does that mean the residents of that area, because the northern part of the map, is kind of open, it's open land
Yep.
right now?
Yep.
This part is very residential. Does that mean that all these rooftops would qualify for this program? In theory.
I heard two separate things there. So you asked about the north, and I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. Can you do that again for me, please?
Yeah, so, not so much the northern part of the map.
Okay.
But this new proposed map, does that mean all those rooftops, now qualify for this program?
So the short answer to that is, it depends. You have to understand that there are residential properties that have already been treated in the area. So if you've been treated, you're not eligible for additional treatment, okay? So that's why the parcels that are highlighted there in the yellowish green color are important, because they have not been treated.
Right.
So those properties would still be eligible for treatment. Does that help you?
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, thank you so much
Okay.
for that explanation.
Yeah, good, okay.
And also it does not transfer, like, somebody was living there and got the abatement, got the money, but didn't do anything and then sold the house. That new owner is not eligible to ask the FAA for more money.
So, yeah, that was my next question. So the money is paid for by the FAA, not the city of Laredo?
We get grants. Right now, we don't have a grant. With this study, we'll be able to ask for a grant if there's any grants available out there.
This is a proposed study right now, right? It's got to be
Yes.
approved, yeah, so.
Is there any way
But
to
if council adopts it,
Not council, FFA has to approve it, then council.
Well,
has to adopt it.
FAA got it, approved it
already
already. We're presenting it to you, so you recommend us to go to council with it, with an ordinance, and once it's approved by council, we can go out there and look for any grants available.
Can we get a hard copy of that presentation?
Yes.
And there-
It's in the.
It's in there, okay. Because what interests me, I live in that area. Well, I live in that area, but I represent that area also. And it used to be, and they mentioned something that, and I'll give you an example. You got houses on the north side of the street that are covered, and then you got some on the south side that aren't.
Yes.
And now it's extending, from what I understood, it's extending half a mile beyond, not only to the south, but to the east and the west also.
Hold on, can I correct that?
Okay, good. Yeah, I think the important thing here is not to mix up the two different measures, okay? So the first one here that we're talking about with respect to eligibility for funding for soundproofing, that is very clear that it would only be within the area depicted here in red. The ordinance that we're talking about with the half mile, that's more about making sure that you're planning for compatible land uses in the vicinity of the airport. Those properties are not necessarily eligible for the soundproofing. It's rather more of a proactive city of Laredo planning for proper land uses that would be considered compatible. Does that make sense? I want to make sure, because it's a fine point, and it's important that we all understand that.
We get it?
Yeah, good.
This is just the presentation because this is gonna be on the action item when we get to that, right?
Yes. So any more questions for SNH?
We're good?
All right, well, thank you, John and Dave.
Yeah, you bet. Do you need us to hang on?
You know what, just one more question.
Yep.
With regard to the, language that will be sent to city council, with regard to the ordinance, are we responsible for crafting that, or?
No.
The
we are.
airport?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they will be here and they will make this presentation to council, if council chooses to, right?
Perfect.
We'll recommend for them to have this presentation, but, it's up to them to decide whether or not. But they will be here for that day and, give this presentation to council.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, well, I guess I would like to move to go to the presentation of on the minimum standards, because that will be also going to council on the next one. And, I mean, if we're gonna bore you with PowerPoint presentation, might as well bore you all at the same time together.
All in one day.
Yeah. So, I'll leave that to Victoria for that.
Can I turn off this light? I'm gonna put these because I can't see. There, because I have a glare and I can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so we've been talking about minimum standards, and the rules and regulations. I know we had talked about making a workshop, but it's been kind of difficult to get everybody here at the same time. So I just thought might as well do it at the meeting. So today we're gonna do minimum standards. The next meeting we'll do the rules and regulations. We did a PowerPoint just so you guys can get an idea of what it is. The entire minimum standards is attached to your full packet. And if you guys wanna review the NCP one, it was also attached to the email. It was just a separate document, okay? And that one you can also find it online. So updates to our minimum standards. So what's the purpose? The airport's minimum standards for conducting aeronautical services is criteria that airports, that is imposed by the airports to ensure safe, efficient, and adequate levels of operations and services that are offered to the public. Its purpose is to protect the airports and the users, as well as maintaining safety, to prevent discrimination, economic discrimination, and just make sure that everything is running equally and equitably on the airport, especially on the airfield, okay? The standards that we are proposing were created in accordance with the FAA's advisory circular, Part 150, 5190-7, and as amended. So the background of our minimum standards. So the first time we ever adopted minimum standards for the airport was in 1990. And it was to remain in compliance with this advisory circular. We did an amendment in 2006. So what they amended in 2006 was Section 2, line services, subsection 2B, hangars and other buildings, and then subsection 5, product control, quality control and safety, and subsection 8, the insurance requirements. And then again, it was updated or amended in 2012, which involved, am I sharing this? I don't even know if I click share. Sorry. Give me 2 seconds, because I have Judge and Amber here, and that's why I told Amber to come. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Yes.
It's okay.
Sorry. Here you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you see?
Oh my gosh, look at me.
Yes, look at you. Can you see it? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So the amendment in 2012 was also to the line services and to the insurance requirements. Oh, I thought I removed this. So why are we updating it? So basically, since we have just been amending the ordinances, it's very messy. So the purpose was to consolidate our documents. The original document has been amended twice with 2 separate ordinances. So as we do this update, it'll create one cohesive document. So when we have people that are developing here and we provide this information to our current tenants, they just know exactly where to find everything. It's also very outdated. So since the standards have not been updated in like 14 years, a lot of the terminology and expectations are just not up to the standard. It's also modernized. The previous documents were only to address line services and insurance, and subleasing space and stuff like that. The new standards provide modern updates for modern airport operations and new aeronautical service models. So it does include language for electronic planes and all of the new stuff that's coming, and to remain in compliance with the FAA. So in order for us to be safe when we're being audited, we want to make sure that the language is mirroring what they're asking of us to do. Okay, so the overview of what's been updated. So again, document is a comprehensive document. The new manual is expanded to apply to aeronautical and non-aeronautical services at the airport. It establishes uniform requirements and procedures. And this manual is also updated to be, or it's designed to be updated as needed or when need be. So what's changed? The key modernizations expanded the definitions and service categories. So in the previous documents, there was no definitions, and it really was just targeted to FBOs. So this new one, it's created a formal framework for SASOs, so Specialized Aeronautical Services. So if we ever get like an MRO that wants to come into the airport, they have standards that they would need to follow as well. Electric aircraft and alternative fuel provisions have been included. We've updated the insurance, training, and safety requirements. Clear application, denial, and compliance timelines. So when people want to do something, there should be like a form, and there's a complete timeline as to how we're supposed to be responding to them as well. And it gives us the explicit authority to enforce this document. So what stayed the same? The core principles stayed the same. So there is no exclusive rights that should be granted to any FBO or any person conducting aeronautical services here. FAA grant assurance compliance remains mandatory. Safety, insurance, and operational minimums remain in place. Existing agreements that exceeded minimums are not weakened. And any FAA or federal regulations continue to supersede local standards. So all that means is if the FAA comes up with something and I haven't changed it here, it doesn't matter what it says here, FAA comes first. So is this gonna impact existing operators? No, it's not. The updates are not retroactive, so it does not invalidate existing agreements. There shouldn't be any immediate disruption to operations. Existing leases and agreements will remain the same. Reasonable time allowed for compliance where is needed. So if there's something that they do need to update because it's like a requirement, we will give them the grace to do it. It's not like we're gonna get mad at you immediately. And clear expectations and consistent standards moving forward. So it's really just as soon as it's adopted by council, it's from that day forward that we will be, focused on this new manual. And this is just like kind of a summary. So the prior minimum standards, it had the multiple documents. This is one consolidated one. Prior documents, standards spread across Stepford ordinance. Here it's all in one framework. Outdated terminology and references. It updates the language. Limited service categories. So I think I kind of gone over it, but I just wanted to add this slide just so you guys have it like in one slide in case, and I can send this to you all because I don't think I sent you all the PowerPoint, but I will send it to you just because this just pretty much summarizes everything I've said, okay? So another reason is because of the FAA alignment and risk reduction. We all know that safety is very important to the FAA. If not, it's like the thing the FAA is known for. And so we just want to make sure that we're being safe when we're conducting these services. This manual does support Part 139 and TSA security requirements. It improves audit readiness and defensibility, and it reduces the risk from outdated and conflicting standards. And since we are changing I want to say that we are changing insurance standards, it does just reduce liability in case something does happen here. So, we are recommending the approval of these 2026 standards and repeal the minimum standards from the past, basically because of everything I've already said. And yeah, it's only for the benefit of the airport to approve our new minimum standards. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I don't know if you guys were able to go through the document.
What are the major changes that you propose? I mean, I know you highlighted them, but what is something that you think is probably the biggest change that we should be looking at?
I mean, I would say the biggest change or the most improvement would probably be that we're expanding to cover other services other than just FBOs. So currently, since right now it's only for FBOs, let's say I have or Mr. Sanchez finds somebody that wants to develop an MRO or something else, like a flight school. We don't have any minimum standards to guide us or to guide them into what we're expecting of them. This should align with what we are gonna wanna do. So right now we're doing our master plan, and that's gonna help us designate how we wanna develop the land around the airport, right? Once this is implemented, and like we start going out for bids for nautical development and stuff, the first thing they always ask is, do you guys have minimum standards? We say yes, but they're really old. But these new ones, once I give them that, they'll know you cannot build anything less than 30,000 square feet or whatever. You know what I mean? It's also expanded to be prepared for the future. So we already know that we're getting electric aircraft. Now we already have the ability to plan for it and find designated places for that. So I would say those are the main things. I wouldn't say that anything's like negative, it's just more standardized. And so it also makes it more, I feel like everybody thinks rules are supposed to like ground us and like keep us like in trouble and stuff, and in all reality, it just keeps things competitive for the people that are doing aeronautical services here. So if we have a new FBO that comes in and then, you know, Signature and Barker are going to, they're gonna compete with them, like they're all gonna be following the same rules. It's not like, you know, because this person did, it just makes it easier. I don't wanna talk too much, but yeah.
The only thing is I would recommend, since it hadn't been updated in forever, put in like, just some sort of rule that says, hey, this has to be reviewed, and then whatever governing body has to review it within 120 days, maybe, something, right, give you a timeline, because then if not,
Review for what? Like?
Your SOP, your manual, like that because when's the last time that it was reviewed?
2012. Like, we haven't done anything with our minimum standards
That's
since
what I'm saying.
2012.
So,
So like
like, put
going
in
forward,
that-
yeah.
Implement a clause to like have a review every, you know,
6 years or
year.
5 years.
Yeah.
Every 5 years, or I don't know what the standard is, right?
I don't know what the standard is either, but we're not against doing that. I think it's kind of just been like as needed, but we can always review it just to make sure that we're being safe.
Right, because everything is changing so fast right now
Oh,
with
yeah.
technology and, just.
I would say probably, like, I think 3 to 5 years would probably be good. A lot of the changes that I've noticed since I've been here has been with, when they reauthorize the FAA, that's when you see a lot of new regulations coming in. And so if we can be consistent with making sure that our minimum standards are being updated with any new rules that are being adopted by the FAA through the FAA Reauthorization Acts, I think that would probably be our best bet, to make sure that we're consistent and not remaining with outdated terminology.
Agreed.
And anytime there's a new ordinance, you always put it in the back, this one says it's going sequential now, instead of, you know, the new ordinances that you have to update or new changes you have to update, you put them in the back like an executive order or something.
Yeah, well, I don't know yet because I haven't done it yet, but I mean, I'm open to ideas. So yeah, as long as, my point is, I don't want to, I don't want it to be like the amendment of this ordinance and the amendment of this ordinance, because then when, you know, the future me is gonna be having to find all of these random ordinances. It was really difficult for me to like keep up, or trying to make sure that I had everything together. I mean, thank God that these minimum standards were good. But with other ordinances that we're trying to amend for the airport, it's been difficult to find, documents at times, especially like really, really old ones. So as long as we have everything like cohesive and together moving forward, it'll be a lot easier to do these updates.
That's our second action item, and we'll discuss here in the building.
So that was my presentation.
Well, thank Thank you so much. Moving on to passenger activity report, that will be your first, your. Your first draft that you have on your report, basically, it was a rough year for us. I mean, still a decent year, but not as good as last year. We had a 9% reduction on the employments compared to last year, with 136,000 compared to 150,000. On the cargo report as well, we had a 22% decrease compared to prior year. We almost hit 800 million pounds landed here in Laredo. But obviously that's with the conditions of the economy and everything that is happening during this year. Well, we think on the 24 where people were front loading and getting stocking up for getting ready for this year. So hopefully this year comes a little bit better compared to the numbers on the. So moving on the fuel flow, well, obviously with having less activity as shown before, we had a decrease on the fuel flow too, on the revenue and on the gallons. So we had a decrease of almost 236,000 compared to last year. We made $788,000 worth of fuel flow. Still good though, but I mean, hopefully this year we start getting better numbers with the economy, or at least the inventory starts to dry up and start making some more orders here. And we can catch up to that. So moving on to the delinquent report. Manuel, do you wanna?
Yes,
tackle that?
Mr. Chair, we have two accounts, currently right now, Aeronaves, which is FIS fees, and Laredo Aero Center. We actually received payment today for Aeronaves, so actually it's only Laredo Aero Center with $21.10. Yes,
Okay,
for
$21.
We got payment for Aeronaves, so currently right now we just have the $21.10. We actually,
Okay. For the FIS report, started to me this morning. This is new, I haven't seen it. I don't know if somebody got creative and changed it, but let's see it, let's figure it out.
I'm so sorry.
On the private, kind of, I mean, 200 more than last year. I mean, I would just say that we keep it constant from prior years, from the 25. Oh no, I'm sorry. The private inbound, 25. Oh yeah, so 200 more. And the outbound, last year we did see a decrease on the outbound. We had explained that a while ago with customs. And on the cargo operation, well, that's just a reflection of what we just shown on the report, the decrease for last year compared to the prior year. And it reflects on the number of operations. And on the charter, which are the private ones, I guess Laredo is a popular spot, and that's thanks to our customs facility and our 24/7, 365, that they're basically open and that they just need a 2-hour notice to land here in Laredo compared to other airports that they need a 24-hour notice. So that's helped us, and we've been working closely with our CBP and making sure that stays, because obviously that's a very competitive advantage against San Antonio and some other airports that are around the area. It's reflected there in the numbers. Military operations says 4 here, but I'm pretty sure we had more than 4, but I guess that's on a need-to-know basis, and those 4 were the ones that we were allowed to know here. So,
Public.
yeah. So moving on the marketing report, I don't think there's anything new or exciting there, but I'll leave that to Manuel.
Yeah.
And to Mr. Cash, obviously.
So you'll see November and December activity. You know, the first page will do like a quick snapshot of, we had some, actually the gadget, the Fly My Airport plugin installation on the website. Basically marketing efforts to help passengers log in and basically help them to get better prices and costs for flight tickets, right? Social media, we're getting, you know, followers on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn accounts. And then I think the most, it's gonna be like to the fourth page of the last, the most important event that happened. I remember last time we met, we discussed about, we had Aerus did a partnership, basically promotion to have Santa fly Laredo, Monterrey, Laredo. So the last page will tell you how much of views that video got. It got 1.1 million views, and the reach to people was 414,000. So it was a really good
It was an excellent campaign, man.
Yes.
I saw it, I was like, man, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, so we put it together and with TSA and CBP, and everything worked out.
Was
Any-
there
any
a correlation to increase in sales after?
So we're
promotion?
waiting to
See
get
the
that
numbers?
report, yes,
The numbers.
yes. As soon as we get that information, we'll go ahead.
They did change the schedule for Aerus, now they
Yes.
fly in the mornings, which that allows, for you to connect to and get all the connections through Beeline.
So now they have,
Monterrey.
now they have 2 flights?
No, it's
Or
just,
it
just
they move it
changed?
to the morning.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
it
just
was
moved
at,
it?
it was at
Yeah.
7 or 8,
At
before
night.
that. And you weren't able to connect anywhere, any place with Beeline. Now you're flying in the morning and there's a whole, world of connections over there in Monterrey to Beeline, so that should help.
Yeah, that's good, that's good.
Okay, any more questions on that? Okay, we move on to the foreign trade zone report, so that I'll leave Dr. Chapler to provide the report.
Thank you. Yeah, we have been growing. We're up to, actually that number that says 59 operators and 70 sites. Yesterday we had another one. It's already on CBP's desk for activation, so it's 60 operators and 71 active sites. Before the shutdown, we had 10 applications at the National FTC board. 5 of them have gone through, and we're still waiting for the other 5. We actually have right now another couple of applications that are complete, but because of some issues with the companies there, we just placed them on hold. We have everything just to send it to the National FTC board, but they told us to wait. We're working on many more. We have 13 already have almost all of the paperwork. So 4 of them are almost done. 2 are just started turning in documents and already paid, and the rest are deciding on what to do. Those are their decision. I have a bunch of prospects. Actually, in that list of additional prospects, on the bottom part says on hold. There's a couple of them that already went up, and I didn't take them out. Emilio Richard and Leindecker, they already came back and mentioned that they want to go through with the process. So this has been a very good year. In 2024, we had 10 new sites, and 2025 we had 17. We've had in these last couple of years 5 deactivations, a couple of FTCs that were already terminated. We managed to rescue them because it was because of some paperwork in Washington that was missing. So we saved those 2. And we're looking forward for a very exciting and challenge in 2026. Hopefully, we might manage to get close to 100 FTC sites in our FTC, and that would be a number one in the country. Right now, we're amongst the 3 FTC grantees that are more growing more in the United States, and I'll probably have that statistics for the next meeting. So that's basically that's what where we're standing right now.
Do you know any information on the manufacturing process or still?
Nothing yet.
There's legislation that's going in right now, and they're working on it, so once they come out with that, they will allow us equivalent to the EMEX program in Mexico, so if that happens.
That'd be great.
I forgot which congressman has legislation, but it looks like it's a positive move, so.
Hopefully.
I get that to you. You know, we know about it or not?
No, we have a couple, like I mentioned the last time, there's just a couple of operators that have asked for manufacturing. You know, everyone I talk with, I mention it, but they're just warehousing.
And how about this trans place? Were you able to get that fixed or they can't?
No, that was approved in 2022 and never went through because
Because
then
our
it
company
changed.
changed,
Yeah, it changed to Uber Freight, and they could have activated since 2022, but they didn't do anything. And now they are the company, Mr. Miller, that's they're advising, they're consulting, and that company, they told me that they are planning on going ahead with now with another from scratch application, but as Uber Freight.
Fair enough.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Thank you.
moving on to the status of the construction for terminal rehab project. We just got, finally, we just got the pricing for that, so we are evaluating all the information that we got. So we probably will be meeting with the construction company pretty soon and start sorting things out. See what will be the next step and when can we start. And with that, I will introduce our new hire, Mr. Oscar Martel. He's been with the city for 5 or 6 years. He comes from the utilities department. Do you have any water complaints or anything? That might this is the night to complain.
It won't be me anymore.
So he will be overseeing the construction of the terminal and the whole project for the terminal rehab. So hopefully we can start soon, so we can keep him busy for a little bit. Now moving on the construction for taxiways, J1 and J2, I'll leave that to Andrew.
For that one, that one's already completed, so we already opened up those taxiways, so I think right before Christmas, so they've been in operation since then.
And thanks to that, we're able to have a runway run at the end of this month.
No,
Saturday.
on this
Saturday.
that I had heard somewhere, and I don't know, because I haven't flown this year, but that some of the lights are not working on the runway. That's not possible at all, right? Because that's like a major thing.
Do you know when that was, or?
It was a few weeks ago, somebody actually brought that up.
No, all the lights are working, and
All the lights
we
are
do
working.
we do a nighttime inspection every
Okay.
night, and everything's working
Yeah.
fine. Unless the runway was shut down.
It sounded funny to me, because
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like lights.
Yeah,
have to
we'll
be-
hear,
Yeah,
we'll hear
about
right
it,
away,
yeah.
right away, and we'll shut it down, and I mean, luckily we have 2 right, but, we haven't had any issues recently. But, I mean, now that you jinx it, I don't know.
If it
blacks out, a NOTAM will be, and we can't fix it right away, a NOTAM will be issued.
Okay, general staff comments,
Double check.
I just wanna ask a question, cause, I just happened to, nobody told me about this, cause I saw it with my own eyes. The day that Allegiant flight came in and there was an American, larger aircraft on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the group.
on Bridge 4.
Is there any procedures here from the airport, or is it the airline's responsibility to, I guess, to offload the passengers of the?
Yeah,
Of the plane?
it's the airline's responsibility. I mean, unfortunately, that was a very, very unlucky event that,
Okay.
the pilots from American Airlines, they time out. Basically, they cannot
Yeah.
move the aircraft. So that's why we had the aircraft stuck here until another crew.
And I asked about it because I was on that Allegiant plane coming in.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and it landed, everything was perfect.
Yeah.
Everything was perfect. And then once we started coming in that strip, I told my wife, I said, hey, I said, there's another aircraft there at on the Allegiant walkway.
Yeah.
And, people, Laredo style, people had already started getting up and getting their overheads and everything. And, he kind of stops, kind of pulls over, and, people started thinking, you know, pues we're gonna go to another walkway.
Yeah.
But that's not possible because those are lower than the other one.
No, it is possible. The problem with Allegiant is that, the only spot that they have.
That's it right there?
It's number 4 because they don't have a tug equipment, so they cannot push back the plane.
Okay.
So they can just have to power out. So if they power out somewhere else, I mean, they might blast a hole.
Yeah, and I asked, and I'm asking, bringing it up because the Allegiant well, first of all, they didn't have a solution. And the
Yeah.
Allegiant attendant comes on the air or over the intercom and says, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring some stairs in, we're gonna start, just be careful because the stairs are very wobbly or whatever, so we're gonna go ahead and release a couple of you at a time. The people in wheelchairs, which was probably about 8 of them that were gonna need wheelchair assistance, he says, and he said it, he says, the people on wheelchair, I don't know how we're gonna get you all off the plane. And it was like,
Awesome.
as soon as I got off that
Yeah.
plane, I said,
We recorded that, I know.
it was like, wow.
Yeah, I know.
So it's the airline's responsibility then?
Yeah, we have addressed that with Allegiant that they need a backup plan. They need to have something to push back the aircraft so that way they can use
Okay.
another bridge or something.
I mean, it was kind of comic about it, but then the people that couldn't help themselves.
No, it was a big issue for us because obviously, I mean, you got those people and the people who got they couldn't fly. The pilot decided not to fly out that day until the following day
Yeah.
because of that.
So those people were already upstairs, they had to get
I mean,
delayed.
that was a big issue.
Wow.
And it was a diversion. That plane came from Querétaro, so that created a whole new problem because it was a medical emergency. So first available airport, it was Laredo, so they came in here. It was an international flight, so you got customs involved, so it was a whole
Okay,
different
well, I
mess,
just
so-
wanted to be like Paul Harvey, get the rest of the story.
It was the perfect storm.
Yeah.
Not for us, right, but the perfect storm for a mess, but that's what it is. But we addressed it with the airlines, and we had a meeting with them because obviously Allegiant was pissed. American, it was an emergency, but I mean the pilot's time out. It was just very unfortunate, but
Okay.
good governance. So that will move on to the action items. So Victoria, you wanna read them or?
Yes, I do. So, consideration to recommend to the mayor and the city council the adoption and implementation of the Laredo International Airport's revised noise compatibility program in concurrence with the FAA's record of approval. The NCP was prepared pursuant to 14 CFR Part 150. The revised noise compatibility program establishes a standardized process for assessing aircraft noise exposure and identifying measures to promote compatible land use in areas surrounding airports and any other matters incident thereto.
Basically, the noise presentation that we just had, I mean, this is the item that we're gonna take to council, and like I mentioned, they will be there at council meeting available to do the presentation or to respond to any questions that they might have.
Motion to consider the NCP
Motion, second.
consideration.
I'll second.
Cash second. We already had a review, anything, we already asked a lot of questions. Anybody have any additional question or not? All right, motion approved.
To approve? Call for a question?
Yeah, they already seconded it.
We're in
Yeah,
motion,
motion.
so
We're discussing.
we need to call a vote.
Well, no.
Motion.
We had a motion and a second, now it's just motion
Yes.
approved, right?
Yeah.
Call the vote right now.
Vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Number 2.
Consideration to recommend to the mayor and city council the repeal and replacement of ordinance number 1990-0197 as amended by ordinance numbers 2006-00202 and 2012-0040, governing minimum requirements and standards for commercial aeronautical services, and the adoption of a new ordinance amending Chapter 4 Airport, Article 3 of the City of Laredo Code of Ordinances to establish updated minimum standards for aeronautical and non-aeronautical services at the Laredo International Airport and any other matters incident thereto.
This is the presentation that Victoria gave you. Yeah, so basically, we're just saying you wanna do business at the airport, you wanna build at the airport, this is the minimum thing that we require you to have. Taking it to
Motion
council.
approved.
Motion to consider?
Joshua, Cash second? Cash?
I'll second, but I wanna see if we can amend the
Yeah.
motion.
I
Just-
figured, yeah, you're gonna have that comment, but, I know, because it's like, just looking at it, it looks like the first one was done after 16 years, and after every 6 years afterwards, so you wanna put a time frame on that, or
Yeah.
not?
36 months?
3 years?
3 years.
3 years works for me.
Do you want to amend the document or the motion, this
Amend-
item? Or
Just
like your
Amend the
motion?
item,
Oh, you- okay.
to include,
To
to
include-
review every 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can do that. I mean, the insurance, they change every year, then just the insurance part.
Yeah.
Do you wanna shorten that time frame, or you wanna leave it at 3 years? Take into
No,
consideration
I think-
insurance is
I
done
think
every
three,
year.
I think 3 years is good, but
Yeah, I think in the insurance part, we leave it open to increase it, if the policy, the City of Laredo policy changes, that, I mean, that applies to that document too.
Fair enough. So 3 years is perfect, okay. Okay.
And obviously, if anything else that's new that comes out that is like necessary, we will change
Oh,
it,
yeah.
even if it's before 3 years.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passed.
Okay, well, now we move on to requests. Any request from any members?
I mean, I know we just, in the chat, I had asked about the military stuff. I just saw some today, and see if we can request money from the federal government for that stuff. No, seriously, I mean, I know it might be a long shot, but they're building, you know, I've even ran it by, you know, the mayor's office to ask the federal government to consider us, as a barracks or even some sort of military depot,
Yeah.
to station aircraft here.
Well, it might be able
Instead
to
of
use
building a
the-
wall, right? But, I mean, obviously the wall's already set in
Yeah.
stone, but maybe there's a way where
That
we
might
can
be-
financially
Some
benefit.
They might be able to use some of those new facilities that are building the CBP Air and Marine. I'm pretty sure they'll have some operations there. To what extent, I don't know at this point. But I'm pretty sure
If I
they will do
can
that.
pop in, Gilbert, real quick.
Yes.
Amber from legal. It would take an act of Congress, so if we wanted to move in that direction, it would kind of be a city decision to move towards, getting political groups to go to Washington DC and have Congress vote on it. We can't really just choose to do it, and so if it's the direction the city wants to go to, we would have to get Congress to act on that.
But I think also is understanding, do we have the infrastructure in place to make that happen? Do we have sufficient land? Do we have the sufficient facilities or capabilities to even offer that as an option, right? And so that's why I'm asking the staff here, because the staff, if anybody would know, man, could we say, hey, we can allocate a piece of land within what's already here to the military, right? As we start entering that conversation of border security and, because not only that it could be an economic driver for the city, as a whole, but just, you know, another revenue source, right? As we start seeing trade drop and fuel drop and all of that, maybe there's another way for us to generate income for the airport.
We do have land available. I mean, it would just be a matter of what are their requirements. So, you know, I just leave it like that at this point. I mean, we do have land, but not sure what will their requirements be. Straight access to the ramp, or just, I mean, see towards the Jackman, Thomas Street, all the way up. I mean, we have plenty of land over there, but I mean, it doesn't have direct access to the ramp. I mean, there's some operational issues that might be there, but yeah, I mean, it was just a matter to sit with them and see what are their requirements.
Taking into consideration it's an election year, and they already just got some funding within the last few years, I think it's a good opportunity to ask and work with Congressman Cuellar right now, or hopefully that, you know, it keeps on moving on, but if not, the other elected officials just are the potential individuals that are running and tell them, hey, this is an opportunity, and I think we should take advantage of it, considering, you know, everything's enforcement and, you know, and border security, so that's the thought.
It's, yeah, just with everything that's such a hot button issue right now with regard to immigration and border security, I mean, if those meetings could get set up and just put it in their ear and see what happens.
Well, I know that it's gonna be in March, the next legislative trip for the city, and I'm pretty sure.
You'll be going?
Yeah.
Okay.
So probably the mayor can bring it up, or meet it with CBP or DOD or somebody like that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Any additional?
How about any rentals or anything that's been done with all the standing land and buildings? An update on that?
No, I mean, aside from the demolition that we're gonna do pretty soon on the Bartlett and Hillside building, we just issued a letter of award and the PO and everything, so we should be starting sometime in a couple of weeks or something. That's, I mean, aside from the building construction, Mr. Martel will also be overseeing the destruction of things, so that will be his first destruction project to oversee. So hopefully we can do it in a couple of weeks, and I know that's a premium spot, so we'll see if we get some interest on that land. But other than that, we just keep answering people's interest. I mean, there's a couple there that are in the process, but nothing signed yet. So anything?
No comments in addition. I'm good. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Disagree with it.
Okay. Right. Thank you so much.